What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Atheist Roundtable. And we have a little bit of a different show tonight. We're going to focus on mental health and the stigma behind it and dig in and have some great conversation there. What I want to do first, though, is introduce my amazing guests for tonight. Very, very happy to have them. Excited to have this conversation with them. First, Jenna Belk, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. It's always good to have you. And then Ethan, first time at the round table. It's great to have you, man. How are you feeling tonight?
I am doing well. I had a show with Jenna Belk earlier today, so this will be hour 2 with her, which I'm more than excited to do.
Awesome. Yep. And I watch their show every Sunday in that afternoon, and it's 12 o'clock my time that it goes on. But I watch it, and if you haven't, either one of you want to tell everybody the name of that show, because it is a mental health driven show. If you want, one of you guys want to plug that real quick.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead, Jenna.
No, it's the Ethan and Jenna show, and you can find that on YouTube at 11 a.m. Central or 12. Would that be Eastern?
Yes. And it's a call-in show as well. So they, if you have questions or experiences with mental health, really is a great platform. And I've called in and chatted with them, I think, once or twice. So it's awesome. So again, thank you both for being here, and we'll just kind of get into it. But before we get into the dialogue, I'll start with myself and share what you want to share, what you feel comfortable sharing, just kind of either your diagnosis or some of the things you struggle with personally. That way everybody has an idea as we go through this, our own personal experience. And I just want to say for the record that, as far as I know, but the three of us are not mental health experts. We're not doctors. We're not psychiatrists, anything like that. We are speaking 100% from personal experience and what we've been through and some of the things that maybe we have done to for us to be healthy and feel better and find that place. So for me, I am bipolar, have depression, ADD, ADHD, ridiculous high anxiety, and also insomnia, which so you can imagine me trying to get to sleep each night's a treat. But that's the short version of that. So you kind of have an understanding of that. Jenna, how about you?
I have been diagnosed with ADHD. I was diagnosed for a little while with bipolar, but then found out that it might not be. It might just be the ADHD with some autism and CPTSD, and anxiety, depression. What else is there? I have trichotillomania as well, which we can talk about during the stream. But yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. And then my man, Ethan, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I have ADHD, depression, and anxiety. And hopefully that's it. Because I'm more than happy with just those three. I don't need to add to it. Although I would say I did have insomnia for about a year and a half. But that's since been resolved, which I can go into later on.
Okay. No, and I agree. I don't need, I told my doctor that I don't need anything to add to the list. Like, we don't need to add any more items to the list. we're good. This isn't something that I'm trying to gain more.
I thought I was done. And then my sister texted me. She's like, have you considered you might be autistic? I'm like, what?
It's ironic you said that, because my wife, I had told her that, like probably 6 months to a year ago. I was like, some of the things I do and that I've read about, I sometimes wonder if there's a little bit of that, that's there. But we can talk about that possibly later. But so the first thing, guys, is the stigma. We're in 2020. And I know we were talking a little bit backstage, when we were in school, even in high school, it was still very like, you don't talk about it. And I remember, you got made fun of, you got, people try to bully people if they had to go down to the nurse's office to take medicine for ADHD or anything like that. But here we are in 2020, and there's still a lot of those stigmas. We still haven't normalized this conversation. And, I'll still hear people say, well, just tough through it, get a grip. those kind of things. And it's like, well, do you tell a diabetic to be less diabetic? I mean, it's not how it works. So I guess I'll open it up there. Maybe you guys share your experiences or things you've seen and heard on the stigma. Why do we still have that in 2020? Why is that even still there?
I mean, I don't know why it's there outside of people are afraid to talk about it. I think in many ways, religion is responsible for a lot of it, particularly Christianity in America, because they would rather tell you to just pray as opposed to actually seeking help. So I believe that is a contributing factor. Also, I would have to go in with the way we talk about it. We deem people crazy. And want to just throw them in a room, which has happened to me at one point, which I'll go into later. I think people are scared to appear as weak, which I have also been guilty of for most of my life. Like I would make sure I did not show certain emotions because from how I was raised is that's a weakness. You tough it out, you rub some dirt on it, and you work through it. Excuse me. So I think what we need to do is to continue to talk about it as much as possible. I have this philosophy where if society doesn't want to talk about something, you should just shine a gigantic light on it, which is why I talk about politics, religion, sex, drugs, and mental health.
Right. And I love that about you and Jenna, especially with that your Sunday afternoon show. For me, it's an afternoon show, but I think one of the things that we have to do to get past the stigma or some of the notions that are there is we have to normalize the conversation around mental health. We have to normalize it. Just like if you hear something, and I always go to that. If somebody says I'm a diabetic, people are like, okay, are you taking care of yourself, taking your insulin? It's not a big deal. Like you just make sure they're taking care of themselves. But as soon as somebody they hear the word bipolar, they automatically think I'm like a serial killer, or I'm nuts.
Yes. And I will be honest, that stigma is actually in my head too. I recall one of the girls I was going to go out with, this is quite some time back, when she first told me that she was bipolar. My first reaction was like, ooh. And then I had to realize okay, stop, it's not as bad as it sounds. You need to learn more about it and do as best as you can to help support her.
Yep. And you hit the nail on the head as far as whether it's family or a partner, intimate relationship. If you're somebody that's not struggled with mental health, really altogether, there's some people they don't have to worry about that fight, but if you're in a relationship with somebody that has that and you don't, education is the most important thing to do, is educating yourself and making sure that you're doing everything you can do to understand who you're with. And I've even encouraged couples, or I'm sorry, the partner that does not have that struggle, for them to go to a therapist, not for them, but to learn more about their partner, to ask questions about that to a professional so that they're more educated, more informed and be better equipped on how to deal with their partner, especially if they're having a dark day or they're having a high anxiety day. What does that look like? How do you guys feel about that? I think that'd be awesome.
I've actually asked my employer about that, and they said I said that every now and then there's a day in the year where everything is built up and I just can't do anything and I can't get out of bed. And it's not because I'm sick. It's not like I can go to the doctor and get a note and bring it to you. It's just that I just can't. And there's at least a couple days a year where I feel like that. And the girl that I was talking to said that she had already been told that by a couple of people. I don't know if it's the pandemic that has helped people become more aware of their own mental health or not, but I passed it on and said that they're talking about it. And so that's not a thing yet, but if we can get everybody talking about it, it can become a thing.
Right. And I think that's, Jenna, that's the important part for those of us that do have those diagnoses or those things that we do have to fight on a daily, weekly basis, whatever it looks like for the individual, that the ones that like us that are not afraid or intimidated or ashamed to speak out, that we continue to turn up the volume on that, because there's so many people that are terrified to even talk about their diagnosis or what they struggle with, in fear of being judged, being ridiculed, being the crazy label being slapped on them, whatever that might be. And that's why I love what you guys are doing and what we're doing tonight, because that's what helps normalize it. And when it becomes normalized, then it's a lot easier for those people that before had those fears or the anxiety of even talking about it, for them to be more liberated or free to have that conversation.
When you think about just kind of history and humans and how we've treated people with any kind of alternate mental health state of mind, and how we've been afraid of people, and it's become mostly because of ignorance about that state of mind. And it's only become a recent thing, I think, in the past 200 years that we've been learning that it doesn't mean that you're possessed. It doesn't mean that you're crazy. That was us just guessing, but we have actual reason to believe that there are things that cause this, and there are things that can help this. And, there's just so many more options. But I think that that's why it's stigmatized, is because of a lack of information about it, and a fear of people. I guess people probably been tricked a lot. Here, this will cure you. This will cure you. This will cure you. All of a sudden, wait, these medicines, they'll work? Like, what's the difference? It just seems like it comes from ignorance. But I think that the reason that the three of us feel more comfortable, it seems like the three of us have such similar stories along these lines. Like, it seems like we may feel more comfortable talking about it because we've had to deal with it a lot more. We've had a lot more time to get used to the idea and to talk to ourselves about how, I'm not crazy. Right?
Yep. Yeah. And the other thing that you kind of highlighted there, and I want to make sure that we put a exclamation mark on that, is people fear what they don't know. So when they lack education or information on, let's say, bipolar, they don't want to talk about it because they don't understand it. They don't know. And when they hear that word bipolar, they're automatically afraid of it, because of the connotation that's been attached to it. That, if you're bipolar, that means you're everywhere. That means, we could be having our stream right now, guys, and at the drop of a dime, I just go batshit crazy. Right? No, that's not bipolar. That's not how it works. But that is one of the connotations that's actually truly there, is that people think we just snap at the drop of a dime. That's not bipolar. That's not how it works.
And if more people with bipolar would come out about having it, then more people can have more evidence and reason to not believe that, right? Because you don't do that.
Well, right, and one important note is that ADHD and bipolar, the symptoms are typically diagnosed. They have overlying symptoms. Like when I had taken the test to determine, I had the same identical symptoms of bipolar as I did ADHD, but he ruled it was ADHD based on my behavior. And since I was more consistently in a consistent mood, I didn't bounce around much at all.
Yeah, and for those that do have a bipolar diagnosis, and usually, yes, ADHD is usually directly tied to that. I completely agree. And then if you have struggle with anxiety, it can become a vicious circle, because one trips the other. And then you just go down this spiral where it's like, I feel like I'm letting everybody down. Ethan, the other night, you and I talked about this. It's say it starts with the ADHD, that I promised somebody I was going to do something and had every intention of doing it. Right. And then, and I did. And then all of a sudden it's gone. I forgot about it. And they've showed it in studies. Like, I literally don't have access to that information anymore. It's gone until my brain resurfaces it. Right. And now I feel like I've disappointed the people that I love, the people that I care about. Then the anxiety goes up. then the bipolar part of it kicks in, where you go either into a mania or a manic episode, and now it's just all bad. And that's when it starts to spiral. So that's where it is very, very important that we're talking about it. But if you are struggling with it, whether it's you have a therapist or a significant other or somebody, you have to talk. You have to talk to somebody and vent, yell, scream, punch a pillow, do whatever it is that you need to do, but don't go down that spiral, because that's when it gets ugly. That's when it gets dark.
Something I want to mention is that there is a difference between having generalized anxiety disorder and having anxiety, right? Anxiety is a symptom. Generalized anxiety disorder means that you have anxiety so bad and so often that it is crippling you. And so there is a difference in those two things, just so that people know, oh, well, I have anxiety too. Okay, everybody has anxiety. That is a human emotion, right? But when it cripples you, that's when it becomes a thing. If it doesn't cripple you, then you don't have that disorder. And it's also not a permanent thing. Generalized anxiety disorder can change. I'm not saying that it will, but it can change for people. Go ahead.
I would, on what you were saying about it being crippling, for those that don't understand, it really can just frigging ruin your life, your day, your week, whatever you want to call it. Like when I got it the worst, and I was unfortunately one of those people, Oz, who, say you and I were having a conversation on mental health and you talked to me about your anxiety, I was one of those people that would be like, hey, you just need to tough it out. Like, I have it. It's a big deal. Like, I didn't understand until I went through it. And when I first got that crippling anxiety, which ended up resulting me getting put away for a time being, it was horrible. Like your walk, the way you talk, everything changes. I was hunched down, struggling to breathe. And I couldn't describe the ideation I was having. It was overwhelming. And I still remember the day. I actually remember the specific moment where that anxiety relieved. And I was like sitting in a chair and I just went, like, all of a sudden I could breathe again. It's just, it's this indescribable physical weight that just pulls you down to the earth mentally and physically. And it can be incredibly hard to describe, but all I can say is it sucks. It really does.
And even if you can't see it in another person, they could be covering it up. That doesn't mean that they don't have it. You don't have to have any evidence of another person's mental health state of mind. That is not something. Emotions, like we were talking about earlier on our stream, Ethan, emotions aren't logical, right? They don't go and ask the math. What do I think now? It's emotions happen, and the more that you can face. I'm sorry, I actually just ADHD. Totally lost what I was thinking.
Happens to us all the time, so it's okay.
Not kidding.
Jenna, thank you for highlighting, and I saw, I think, one or two people in the chat say it too. Thank you for highlighting that on anxiety, because that is just like in Ethan, very similar to what you and I talked about the other night. People say that too. Well, I just can't focus. No, having ADHD and not being able to focus, you're like, we're not even in the same ballpark right now. So thank you for bringing that up and highlighting that, because that is very, very important. And Ethan, before you were had jumped on backstage earlier, I was sharing with Jen. I think this is probably a good time to bring this up. About 3 weeks ago, excuse me, right around there, I probably hit one of my times of my highest anxiety that I've ever had. Maybe one other time, maybe it was worse. But I'm the type where, my wife and, Pasta and the guys, they'll take, like, I'm 100 miles an hour all the time. Like, I go. I went 2 or 3 days. I didn't want to get out of bed. I just wanted the covers over my head. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to be around anybody. And I have to be careful, because as soon as I get like that, I go dark and I start making really stupid decisions that don't necessarily, like, physically harm anybody else, but could put me in harm's way, and I start making very, very erratic and irrational decisions that when you know me, I don't make those decisions when I'm not in that spot. And it's crippling, and people don't understand that. Just tough it out, whatever. I remember when I finally started to, Ethan, as you explained, where it's almost like you can start to get that breath again, where you feel like there's been like an elephant standing on your chest, when you're in the middle of that. And I started to come out of it. I remember telling my wife, I was like, if anybody right now tells me to tough through this, I'm gonna punch them in the fucking mouth. Don't even say it right now.
There's no just toughing it out. And that was ingrained in me by my parents, particularly my stepdad, old school Mexican. He's very intense Catholic, that you be a man. I can always hear that in the back of my head anytime I'm doing an episode or talking about mental health. I hear it. Don't be a insert swear word followed by be a man, and it's hard to overcome. And I forgot where I was going with that.
I feel like that's going to happen on this particular episode a few times. So,
well, there's something that I actually wanted to mention about what Ethan had said earlier, was that the ADHD and borderline personality disorder exhibit very similar symptoms. There's actually a few more in there that exhibit very similar symptoms, and those are, borderline, ADHD, CPTSD, autism, and there's one more. I forget what it is, but so it's not that they all have the same symptoms. It's just that this will have the same as this one, but then this part will be the same as this one, and this part will be the same as this one. And so it's what we're finding out is that some people have, a lot of this and a little bit of that. And some people have all of this and none of that, but the symptoms would be the exact same if you look at the list, right? So it's something that you definitely have to work over time on with a psychiatrist, with a therapist, with whoever you have access to, who is a professional who is educated about this, because this kind of these diagnoses are like I said earlier, are relatively new. And like even for autism, we're just now learning that autism in girls is almost the opposite of what it is in boys. And that's how I just found out, and I'm almost 30. But yeah, just again, I lost where I'm going.
That's like our entire YouTube show.
This is going to be like that.
Jenna, yeah. Jenna and I forgetting what we're talking about.
So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what happens when you have three people on screen with ADHD. You're in store for a ride.
It's going to be entertaining as hell.
No, so the stigma, and actually, I think we hit a lot of the because I did quite a bit of reading or research here this weekend leading into this, just kind of review and refresh for myself and make sure that that I'm on the most current studies and everything. And I feel like we hit a lot of the reasons why there's still a stigma in 2020, which is what I wanted to hit first, because I have people asking me, that other people that have similar diagnoses as I do, but aren't as vocal about it. And they, I'm sure you guys hear this all the time, but I have people tell me, like, I don't know how you talk about it. Like, I don't know how you talk about it so freely. I'm scared to death to talk about it the way you do. So we, the three of us and others like us, we need to keep doing that. But we talked about a lot of those things as far as why that's there, and what we can do to break through that wall, so to speak. But the next part I want to talk about is what can we do, other than continue to talk about it, what can we do for each other, as humans, whether it's the atheist community or whatever, just for humanity. What can we do for each other to help each other? And the one thing that for me that I'm trying to do, and I'm very careful because I do have a family and other things that I have to do, but I try to make myself as available as possible. And Ethan, I've actually heard you talk about this, and every time I hear you talk about it, I'm like, no, bro, I hear you. I hear you. Because it's tough to try to balance everything, right?
Yes.
Like you have to take care of your mental health. You have to take care of family responsibilities, all that. But there's still that passion or that drive in us because of what we've been through and what we experienced, that we do want to be a help, right? We do want to be a hand to somebody that, for me personally, so like if you go to TART.live, there's a little chat button at the bottom, and that's set up there. And there, I always give the precursor. When you text that number, you're not getting professionals. You're simply getting somebody that you can text that will just let you vent and bullshit with and talk shit to get shit off your chest. And it can be anonymous, or you can tell who you are. That's totally up to you, but that's there. And then we've also developed a relationship with a secular therapist, and I stress secular therapist that will meet with you remotely and will give you, I can't remember what her rates are. I wouldn't say it live anyway right now, but she will give you a discount because of the relationship through TART. So if you're struggling to find a true secular therapist, email me, austin@tart.live, or message us on here, and I will help get you connected to that person. That way you can have a professional. So we have two routes. If you need a professional to talk to, we have that. If you just want to talk shit to somebody and get shit off your chest, go to the website, click that little bubble down in the right-hand corner, and you can text and talk all the shit you want. Okay. So that's one of the things that I want to do to help the people that struggle with what we struggle with. But what are some other things that we can do as individuals or a community to make an impact?
Well, for one, you're going above and beyond. Like, that is incredible that you've had that on your site. I'd be interested to find out more about it, so I can share that with, on my videos as well, and make sure others are aware. And regarding, I believe this is the therapist you referred to me. We haven't started our first session yet, but we did talk for a while, and I will say she is awesome, and I'm really looking forward to working with her. So thank you for referring her to me to her to me, one of them. I think the important thing, what we need to do is we need to be more patient with each other, and this goes into what I do also with YouTube, and why I try and avoid even like being too aggressive or lashing out at people, because while there are beliefs I don't agree with, I recognize that there is an emotional tie behind that, and I want to be empathetic towards that. Or is it sympathetic? I always mix those two up. Empathetic towards that. And it's not just in that area, it's everything. Like, sometimes people just want to bitch. Sometimes they want to vent and get things off their chest and not be told what they're doing wrong, or, pointing a finger at them. They just want someone to talk to. And I think if we spent more time listening to each other, we would accomplish a lot more. So I think patience is key, and listening.
I think that y'all are both amazing people, and oh my God, like, that's so awesome that you do that. And I hope that people who are listening to this don't feel like they're not doing enough if they're not doing something like that. Because that is, like Ethan said, above and beyond. That is amazing. But we can all help each other in different ways. And one of the ways that I was thinking, and Oz kind of accidentally may have mentioned that this is a thing, is that I went to Al-Anon for the first time, which Al-Anon is Alcoholics Anonymous for loved ones of people who are affected by an alcoholic, whether you're the mother of an alcoholic or sister, friend, partner, child, anything. And so it's to help those people learn how to help the alcoholic, right? Because you're stressed out about it. It's stressing out so much that you have to go to meetings. I went to my first meeting and I was like, okay, how do I help my partner? How do I help? Right. And I was so angry that the response I got was, help yourself. It's like, no, that's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm looking for. That doesn't tell me anything. And they're like, no. Help yourself. And it took a couple years of going to Al-Anon and then AA myself and rehab and learning a lot about myself before I realized that's a real thing. You have to learn to love yourself. And if we could all learn to spend a little more time on ourselves instead of exhausting ourselves on everyone else. It is good to give to everyone else. That is great. But if you are exhausting yourself, you are not only not giving as much as you could to others, but you're denying yourself respect, and you can't receive it from others if you can't receive it from yourself. So it's just bouncing off of everyone and going to waste. Kind of like how Oz had mentioned in the Christian community, where it felt like everyone was all close-knit because there's so many people, but at the same time there just seems to be this barrier between you. I just feel like that's what it is that everybody's spending so much time loving this imaginary being rather than themselves. Did I just ramble for no reason, or did that make some kind of sense?
That was great.
I also think social media plays a hand in this, because a lot of people like to only post their best version of themselves on social media. And that's it. And unfortunately, we as society, when we see that, all we see is, oh, they have this perfect life. There's never anything wrong. Look at all these struggles I'm going through. And we tend to start comparing what we don't have to what other people do have, when you're not even getting the full story. I think if you change your mindset and try and look at all the things you actually do have, you'll be much happier and more appreciative of everything, because we all do, in most cases, have a lot to live for.
Maybe look at other people's social media pages and Facebook pages as like everybody's own scrapbook. Everybody's better. Some people are better at keeping scrapbooks than others, but that doesn't mean that you're a happier person.
No. And right. That's why I will say this. I post a ridiculous amount on Facebook. It comes with like the ADHD thing where I work my day job during the day, and I'm always like, I bounce back and forth between work, Facebook. I got nothing else to do. So I try and put everything out there. Bad, good, whatever it is, because then I don't want to be just somebody's like, losing my train of thought. Hang on. Let me dial it back for a second. I want people to see everything. Now, that goes with certain limitations. Like, obviously, I don't want people knowing where I live, or I don't give out my phone number, things like that. But I want people to see, I don't want them coming to my page and thinking it's just all great stuff. I want them to see the struggles I have as well. And I find that when you're more transparent on social media, people, you help people. Like I remember thinking back earlier this year and just thinking, man, I want to find more ways I can help people. And just in the short time I've been doing this, like when I've done videos on depression, ADHD, people reach out and say I've helped them just by having these conversations in public, or they'll be like, oh my God, I totally related to what you or your guest said. It's like, that is a great freaking feeling. So I would just implore everybody, if you feel comfortable with it, of course, be more open about your mental health. Let people know how you're doing, because the more of us that are out there talking about it, the more normal it's going to be. Think about your mental health like atheism. We want to normalize that as well. So let's talk about it every single chance we have.
Yeah, the one thing, and the first person that that I heard this phrase from was my now wife when we first started dating, and she told me, just be you as fuck. Just be you as fuck.
I love that.
And her and I have and still do very much pride ourselves on being just a very authentic version of ourselves. And I think part of the reason we probably have a small circle is that's just who you're going to get. Austin and Tia all day, every day. And you're either going to love us or you're going to hate us. And we're okay with either, and we can still like you and you not like us, and that's fine. But the one thing we don't have to worry about, and we don't have hangups and snags, is what people think about us. How do they interpret us? How do they view us? And I encourage everybody to do that now, whether it's talking about mental health or your religious view or lack of religious view. Just be you as be you as fuck. Be the most authentic version of yourself that you can be that day. And if you do that and you try your best that day, that's all you can give. All you can be is authentic and be your best in that day. And you owe nobody nothing. You owe nobody nothing at that point.
If somebody hates on you for being yourself, I would wonder what's making that person so unhappy with their self. Like, I don't think that it has anything to do with you if they don't like you, right? If they do like you, cool. If they don't, then just keep your distance. That's fine. You don't have to hang out with me. But I have a question for y'all. Since we're talking about showing everything and being authentic as fuck, right?
Yeah.
I'm curious y'all's experiences with panic attacks. I know that there's many different kinds. There's many, different ways to experience and different levels. I'm curious if y'all have had a lot of experience with that or none or what. Just because they're embarrassing to me.
I've had that happen. It was one time and it sucked. It was like I was home alone and I'm like, my heart started racing and I'm like struggling to like breathe. And then all of a sudden, like I felt like a boom, 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 boom. And then like my hands started tingling and I was like, oh my God, like what is happening right now? So I had a minor freak out. Fortunately, I was able to calm down and recover, but I've only had that one. So I don't have much experience with them.
Okay.
What I did want to say though, jumping back just one quick second when you were talking about being like transparent on or just being your authentic self on social media, that was the best decision I ever made. Like, and for example, I do a lot of goofy things in my own time. Like I'll randomly dance down the hallway or throw on music, just do things that I find ways to make myself laugh because it cheers me up if I'm ever feeling down. And one day I got the courage to finally post a video of me dancing on Facebook. And next thing I know, I'm making people laugh. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I started doing more and more and just showing people more of who I am. And it was so rewarding knowing that being myself not only makes people laugh, makes them feel good. Like to me, that's great. Like being able to take away someone's pain just for a moment is powerful to me. And moving on from that, I've just try and be open about everything. Like, for example, when I decided to try mushrooms 3 weeks ago, I posted a video of me on mushrooms on my Facebook, and my Christian right-wing friends were not happy with it. And I'm like, who cares? Why? This shit shouldn't be illegal anyway. There's studies showing it helps with depression and anxiety, and now also Alzheimer's. Like, why is this illegal? So yeah,
probably because of the source. It's the psilocybin itself that has been proven or is being proven. Has not, but is being proven to be beneficial. But it's not just mushrooms. I mean, you can get a lot of bad stuff if you're just getting mushrooms. Just disclaimer.
Thank you for clarifying that.
But I will, Ethan, I do have to send a side note there. That video you posted is in my top 5 videos of the month right now. So
really?
Absolutely.
And I love your dancing videos.
Yeah, if you like obnoxious dancing to like NSYNC or other random stuff, find me on Facebook. But fair warning, I post a lot and I talk about everything. So yeah, but it's been great. Just this year has been a wild year, and a lot of it started with Jenna Belk and my atheist channel. So I owe Jenna a great deal. I do.
Well, you guys, you guys are, and I'm not saying this because you're here and as the host of the Atheist Roundtable, I'm supposed to blow smoke up somebody's ass because they're guests, right? But there's not very, just being again authentic and transparent. There's very few shows that I regularly tune into. Like I'll catch them here and there. I have your guys as a reminder on my phone. I don't have I don't have that for anybody else's right now as a reminder. So that's even what it means to me, to be able to just have that once a week, whether I call in or I'm just listening, whether I'm in the chat or not. I'm there and I'm listening, and it's important to me to hear it and have reminders and hear other people and what are they doing, how are they getting better, and as far as how do we continue to help everybody, what you guys are doing is part of that. What we're doing tonight is part of that, and with the website, I think more and more of those things that we create, those avenues, we create those ways for people to be able to reach out. And this is kind of the next step I wanted to take, or, part of that, the evolution, I guess, is one of the biggest fears that I hear from people when I talk to them one-on-one. They usually won't say this publicly, but one-on-one, they're terrified to take the first step. They're terrified to take that first step to say, you know what? I know something's not right. I know that I shouldn't be feeling this way, but I'm scared to death to make the first move, not just because I might have an actual diagnosis, but I don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. I don't know who to talk to. And I'll tell you right now, in the US anyway, trying to find adequate help for mental health is not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing. So that's why, and Ethan, I appreciate what you said earlier, but when I hear people like that day I heard you, or I hear somebody, like, I want to get them the quickest outlet possible to get through all the hoops and all the bullshit that people have to get through to find the help and make that a seamless process, So I think that's critical. Because I often wonder for myself, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here. I often wonder for myself, I shared with Ethan on their show the other night, I ended up in a psych ward about 3 years ago. And I remember the process afterwards of, here I've already been in the system now, and I'm supposed to do all these follow-ups. And when I do the follow-ups, like, nobody's calling me back. I have to go to 4 different pre-appointments to get an appointment, and by this point I'm like, guys, I could already had a gun to my head, and I'm not even like minimizing that or making a joke of it. I could have literally had a gun to my head, and nobody was there in your system. Nobody was there to help when you were supposed to be the ones that were there to help. So that's why I try to find, what are the shortcuts? There's always a hack, right? What are the shortcuts that we can help people get around all the bullshit and go, okay, no, actually, here's a great therapist. And guess what? For every therapist, usually there's a great psychiatrist right behind them. So how do we skip all that bullshit and get there? But to go back to the main, with my ADHD, I'm actually going to go back to the main point there is, how do we encourage people, or how do we help people make that first step? Because I was terrified. For me personally, I was scared as fuck.
I think the best thing would be to start with having people reach out, whether it be to their friends or families, just someone to let them know they're struggling. And the more I find, the more people you talk about it, or the more people you're comfortable with asking, the more information you're going to get. Like, I've made a post on Facebook before, like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. Does anyone have any recommendations? Here's how I'm feeling. And the next thing I know, I had 20, 30 comments with people giving me therapist recommendations and why they liked them. So more people are going to therapy or speaking to counselors than you realize. And I think one of the best things you could do is just start asking around, talk to friends, family, ask people on Facebook. Hell, ask me. I'll do anything I can to point you in the right direction. Just try and talk about it.
Yeah, asking people how they're doing and sharing how you're each coping, I think, is the best way to get through that, because everybody's got different coping skills, and something will work for someone and not work for another person. But there's just, not only is there meditation and exercise, but there's millions of different kinds of meditations and millions of different kinds of exercise. There's so many things to try. And if you haven't found your thing yet, then keep trying. But ultimately, I don't think that people can take that first step until they're ready. And that's something that I've just kind of learned through the addiction process, is that if you can't force another person to be ready. And that's what's hard. When another person is ready to take that first step, make sure that that person that you think is struggling knows that you are available at that time, that they know where to go when they are ready, rather than trying to convince them that they're ready, because that's just going to push them farther away.
Right. And that's excellent, Jenna, because yes, that person has to be ready. And when they are ready, if you are the loved one that is kind of standing around and waiting for them to be ready, make sure you're equipped. Make sure you're ready. Be educated, be informed for when that day comes, because I agree, Jenna, 100%. A lot of times, as somebody that's not only struggled with mental health, but had a very, very deep addiction problem, years ago, the more you tried to push me to be ready, and you tried to force me to be ready, the further away from you I ran, and the further away from the actual solution I ran. So yeah, let them get to the point that they're ready. But when they're ready, you need to be welcoming and warm and ready to help. And so, Jenna, you hit the nail on the head with that one. So what I'll ask is, we're about 47 minutes in. So real quick, anybody in the chat, we've had a great crowd tonight. You guys watching, I saw some of the comments. Thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate it. If you guys have any questions for Jenna, for Ethan, for myself, you can go ahead and put those in there. Just make sure you tag who you're directing the questions at, or if it's all three, just put all three. And we'll do that here in a second. But kind of how I wanted to end our conversation, or our dialogue on it, because Jenna just gave me a great, perfect tee up or segue there into that, is we all do find our own coping skills, right? As far as what helps us get through the anxiety or the depression or things like that. And sometimes it's something, Jenna might say something, I'm like, yeah, that probably wouldn't work for me. Or she would say something, I'm like, man, I need to try that. When we were backstage, we were talking about, ADHD and the fact that I've played drums for, since I was 6. And then she shared, well, my partner's, played drums for a long time, and he has ADHD. Those things they're huge, right? As far as just some of the therapy that, it's very therapeutic. So Ethan, I'll start with you on this one. What are maybe some of your go-tos as far as, if you're feeling that anxiety coming on or depression, what are your go-tos? What do you do for Ethan to help you get through that? You're muted, buddy.
Crap, sorry about that. The dog was barking, so I muted myself. I, for one, am still learning on how best to take care of my mental health. However, I have a few things that help. One is playing with my nephew. Like, that dude can just turn my mood around in a split second. Like, he's 4 years old, and he'll come up and be like, "Uncle, let's Wesso." And it's just, that makes me so happy. Like, when we play together. When I'm by myself, I find like ways to make myself laugh. Like, I'll obviously think about the problem I'm having, try and address it. But if I can't get rid of that anxiety, I force myself to be my goofy self. Like, I'll throw on a song and just start mindlessly dancing. I'll grab some marijuana and smoke it. Not saying I recommend that for everybody. That's just what helps me. I'll call one of my close friends, or I'll call my ex-wife, because both of them are really good at making me laugh, because they're in different ways. My best friend's a comedian, and my ex-wife is just very like lighthearted and knows how to cheer me up. So I would say I kind of rely on, some of the people around me to help. Definitely, like I said, marijuana makes a difference, and finding people to talk to.
Right. And yeah, it's awesome when you can have the right people around you, because not to go down this rabbit hole again, but I had a time, and you guys could probably relate to this, when I was exiting religion and church, and I Other than my brother, I still have yet to talk to anybody that I attended church with for 8 or 9 years. Like none, zero, no contact. So I did that. So I lost this relationship with this God, and all these friends. And about the same time, my ex-wife left me, and it was a nasty process. And I had nothing, right? And very, very lucky, man. I met which is now my wife. I met Tia. And if it was not for her and her wanting to help me and study and research and get better, and seeing that, okay, through all of this pain and the diagnosis, there's a decent guy. There's a decent guy in here. And her believing in me and wanting to see me happy and healthy, I have no idea where I would be right now. I have no idea where I'd be. You know, when her and I first met, I had I think it was 2 different suicide attempts, you know, and one of them, she came in the next morning and found me, you know, so it's crucial to have those people around you that, you know, no matter how dark it gets, how crazy it gets, that they're going to be there to try to help get you out of that. Now, not every moment's going to be that dark. Not every moment's going to be that crazy. But what I'm saying is, whether it's mild here or you're in the depths of your deep, right, and it's dark and it's ugly, that person is going to love you and help you out of that no matter what. So Ethan, I totally agree.
Yeah, and I'm grateful. Like I know a lot of people have like horror stories of their exes. I don't have those, man. Like my ex-wife is like my best friend, and she's always been, I shouldn't say always, but she is incredibly supportive. Even of my like channel and atheist stuff now. Like we were going for a walk a few weeks ago, and she's like, I'm like, you know, I love what I'm doing right now. And she looks at me, she goes, you know, you're going to make it, right? I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, I've never seen you not accomplish something when you set your mind to it. She goes, I know how far you're going to go. You're not going to stop. And like that makes me feel so good, knowing that someone that it didn't work out with in any capacity, or as partners, that as friends, we can still be happy and supportive towards each other. So I personally don't know what I would have done without her. She got me through some really dark times. Like after the loss of my brother, she was there for me, and we had broken up for a period of time, but she was still supportive and doing everything she could to bring me out of, you know, the depths of hell. That being said, do we have a moment for a story?
We do, but real quick, I just want to say, I think it's very impressive that you're going on walks with your ex-wife, because I don't think there's an Ice Cube's chance in hell that you catch me going on a walk with my ex-wife.
That's like our favorite time together. Like once a week, we'll get together on Saturdays. We'll smoke together and go for a walk, and we're just in hysterics, laughing the whole time. She talks about her boyfriend. I talk about people I've been dating. Like we got to this point where we're both like, hey, we don't belong together, but we were best friends. Let's salvage the friendship. There's no reason why we can't, you know, work through this together. So yeah, maybe I'm lucky. Maybe she's emotionally, you know, more mature than others. Maybe not. I don't know, but it's nice to know that.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's awesome that you guys can do that. I just know ours was so ugly that would never. So when you say that, from my perspective, my personal experience, it's like, what in the hell are you talking about? But go ahead, share your story.
You know, and to be honest, it could have gotten ugly. We did have a fight, not physical by any means, at one point, and it was intense. But we both were like, getting angry at each other or getting vindictive isn't going to accomplish anything, or that we're just going to make each other miserable. And why would we want to do that? But anyways, I'll try and make this somewhat quick. The reason I want to tell it is because it's got a humorous ending, I think. Okay, so I ended up, let's just say I got this one day on Facebook, I challenged a bunch of witches to lay a negative hex on me. And I was like, let me know how long it'll take, what'll happen. And needless to say, coincidentally, later that night, my life went to shit, literally the same day. So I don't think there's any direct. I don't think they're linked. It's just, it does lead towards the end of the story. So I get this crushing anxiety. It's horrible. I end up, I essentially, to summarize, I called my mom. I was like, I'm having some really bad thoughts right now. I need help. We went to the emergency room, which I should not have gone to. And I tried to express, I let the nurses know that I wanted to express myself, but that I knew the difference between thoughts and actions, and I wouldn't act on my thoughts. Within 10 seconds of opening my mouth, they ripped away my tablet, my phone, locked down the medicine cabinet, bring security in, and they're like, you can't go. And that sent me into like, what is this? I got bussed over to a place where I was locked away for pretty much 3 days. The first 24 to 36 hours, I had not seen anybody. It was just medication, and I was alone in a room. No phone, no nothing. And as if that was supposed to help me get better. Fast forward, I get out of there. I am going to outpatient therapy, and I'm in the room with the psychiatrist. Now, before I say what he said, they called obviously close friends and family, and they called my ex to find out like as much details as they could to try and help me through this time. So she had given them all the details, including me asking witches to curse me. Well, let's just say he got the wrong idea from that. So I am not in a good place. And this is kind of what alleviated that. I sit down and he's like, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. So we're talking for a minute. And then he's like, so it's my understanding that you have been cursed by witches. And are you seeing them? Are you seeing, I forgot what he said. Are you seeing things? And I'm like, and immediately I start laughing. I'm like, no. I'm like, look, I don't believe any of that's real. I'm like, you're actually going to love this story. And he just has this look on my face like, this guy's crazy. He's talking about witches. So I essentially was like, tried to explain that I'm an atheist. I'm secular. I'm only doing it to see if it was possible, but that I don't actually believe in witches. So he ends up, he's like, okay, so you don't think you've been hexed, right? And I was like, no, I don't think I've been hexed. And next thing he does, he takes the book he has on his desk, closes it, and goes, well, we don't have to have this conversation then. So he thought I was just like, I don't know what he thought or what the book was, but I could see why they thought I was crazy because my ex told them about the witch's curse.
I have talked to a certain person that I know that is a therapist and a Catholic and believes in exorcisms, and asked what are the qualifying criteria to determine whether someone's possessed, and part of it is a history of devil worship or witch exposure, and it's like, that's on your record now, bro. I'm just kidding.
You got a supernatural record, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I did. On the flip side, I went on a I went on a date, and it turns out she believed in the supernatural, and I had told her this stuff, and she pulls this out, takes it off, and proceeds to hand it to me and starts doing some weird stuff. She claims she was a good witch, and she's like, I'm removing all the curses from you. I was like, okay, cool, thanks. And she asked me to keep this. So I was like, all right, I'll keep it. We'll see what it does. I hope you know I don't believe any of this, though, but I'll give it a shot.
Wow. Well, before Jenna shares, Ethan, we just know that from now on, when you go to the ER, that as soon as they bring your paperwork, your clipboard in, they're going to say, so Mr. Ethan, we see you have a record of supernatural experiences.
Exposure.
I really hope that it doesn't say anything about witches on any paperwork, because if I ever have to go somewhere again, they're going to think I'm nuts.
Uh,
So, Jenna, how about you? What are some of your go-tos? What do you, if you're maybe it's a day you're just feeling down, like we have those days, or it's there's a heightened level of anxiety or whatever it is for you. What are some of your go-tos?
Well, Ethan had mentioned that he doesn't really know a lot yet about where to go yet, and you're just now starting to see a therapist. And I think that is a good thing to mention, that therapy, that's what that's for, is to help you identify points in your life that are making you unhappy, whether it's, a relationship that either needs to be severed or mended, or if you need to see somebody more, or if you hate your job, or if you're not getting enough sleep, or whatever it is, it's hopefully a way to help identify what these things are for you. For me, it's exercise. I have found is the biggest one, the absolute biggest one. I have to paddle a couple times a week. I have to work out these muscles on my shoulders right here. Or push-ups, something. Otherwise, I am so much more likely to have panic attacks. Like, the reason I brought that up earlier is because that happens to me so often. It's ridiculous. Cleaning. If I don't know what it is, but if I'm in a dirty environment, I can't get out of it unless I clean it. And sometimes just the act of cleaning, watching something go from dirty to clean, can help kind of start that ball rolling. And then another thing is allowing myself to rest, allowing myself to have that day on the couch watching TV that a show that I've seen a million times, or allowing myself to sleep all day, or just the regular meditation that I have found is good for me throughout the day. I have found that 9 hours of sleep is what I need. I just require more rest than it seems a lot of people need. But it took a lot of time and patience and work with myself to identify that kind of a thing.
Awesome. No, and thank you. Thank you both for sharing that. And
really quick. One last thing.
No, go ahead.
I know that we started off this stream identifying what labels we've been diagnosed with, and those are important and helpful for validating reasons. Not only that, but also helping to select which medication may help or not. But at the end of the day, sorry, a label can change. It can be updated. Don't put too much stock in the word. It's the symptoms that we all have to deal with, right? So whether it's this label plus this label minus that label, whatever, you have X amount of symptoms, and that's what you have to deal with. So even if you never come out with a label, if you can help yourself deal with the symptoms, then it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah. And again, Jenna, great job. The label or the diagnosis does not define you. That is not your definition. Because even though Jenna, Ethan, and myself have a particular diagnosis, those diagnoses don't determine what we want to do with our life. They don't determine our goals. They don't, and there's days that we feel like it, but those do not get in the way of us doing what we want to do with our lives and pushing through and moving through and fighting through it. So, no, Jen and Ethan, y'all dropping bombs tonight for everybody. But for me to deal with my anxiety, what I like to do is he doesn't know it, but I've recorded Pasta reading bedtime stories with his radio voice, and no, I'm kidding. I don't listen to that. It's a joke. But what I like to do is, and I've become more in the last, I think, 2 weeks, really since I had my last episode with the anxiety, where it was literally, I was telling my wife that it was only the second time I remember in my life where I could literally like feel it in my throat, like my heartbeat and everything. I couldn't get my breath. It was crippling, I've got full all the way back into my workout routine, and getting in there and doing that, Jenna, what we talked about in the pre-show, And then a lot of people might think it's just busy work or whatever. But me putting my energy into TART and reaching out and talking to people and trying to set appointments and dates and doing that and building new relationships with people that I've never talked to before, and all that, it's so fulfilling to me. It's so rewarding to me. So when I'm going through that, like, all of those things matter. They make me feel like I'm accomplishing something. They make me feel like I'm, checking the boxes. I guess you'd
You're
say,
giving
like,
yourself a purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if that's the case, something like that, then whether it's going to the gym or you have a YouTube to us, but maybe you want to do blogging or vlogging or whatever it is, find those things where you can be passionate and have an outlet and put those things out there. And that's one thing, Jenna, I do respect about the way you've kind of, I don't know if you did it strategically. I think you probably did. You're very, very intelligent. That you have the ones that are skeptic, atheist driven, but you also have the ones that are. I love the idea of you having the painting one, where I'm painting and I'm talking and I'm getting things off my chest and we're talking like that's just therapeutic, And I love that you do that. And I think if more people realize that, if you could do YouTube and it not be the atheist experience or the atheist roundtable or you go down the line, it doesn't have to be that all the time. It can be things that are therapeutic that help you feel better about you, right? Be happy with what you do, and that brings happiness, So, those are some of my go-tos. And then I love to, when I'm alone, I'm a big car guy. Not car, like I don't like cars. I like being in the car. I like going for rides. And I actually have an app on my phone. I'm a hip hop head, and I have an app on my phone where I roll the windows up, and this app, I can record while I freestyle. So I'll go out on country roads and I'll find a beat that I think is nasty, and I'll freestyle for like an hour. Like, just go, and who knows what the hell I'm even talking about. Right. But I go out there and I do that. And then my number one, anybody that lives in or around a big city, this is going to sound very, very childish, I think, but I don't care. If you are in or around a big city that has the electric scooters, the motorized scooters, I will tell you what, I would have told you before I started riding them that I thought it was the corniest idea in the world. One of my favorite things to do is at nighttime by myself is to go downtown and or with my wife, because she loves to do it too. But if she's not available or whatever, is to go downtown and ride the scooters. And I actually end up buying 3 of them, so I didn't have to rent them anymore. Is to go down and just ride. I put earbuds in or whatever, and I just ride. And I go wherever I want to go. And by the time I get back home or to the car, it's like, life's good. Life's good. I feel good. Life is good. So it's just those little things, man, that you wouldn't expect bring you that calming, that peaceful, whatever. Find those things. Find those things for you. But the scooters are the shit.
We have the bikes too.
Did you say you freestyle, like freestyle rap?
Off the top.
Oh, and you and I may have to have the first ever atheist rap battle.
Hey, I'm in.
Ethan, you don't want that smoke. You don't want that smoke.
Let's do it, man. You got a little B rabbit over here.
The fact that you said B rabbit, I already know I'm going to smash you.
Okay, so I have not battled in several years. So if you can go for an hour straight, then yeah. Although I don't know, we'll have to see. But I will say that the things I can do, pretty good. I'll send you a video of me on stage. It's a lot of fun.
Welcome to Let's Get It, the Atheist Roundtable. Toss the mic, tell us what's good tonight. Get this man a goddamn can so we can plan to crush tonight. It's murder. It was the case they gave him. Even Jesus couldn't save him. He believes he'll slay him. Murder shed Steve, got these thieves on their fucking knees. ST jump where the mother shed be.
Chop it up.
Why you asking all these questions? What are you suggesting? Why am I second guessing? Then GSEB surgically removing these hypotheses. Yeah, and get out the way. Get out the way. This kid don't play. If you got a God, I'd call him. If you got a book, I'd hide him. Just Jeff. Question so hard they'll punch you in the chest. So the best bet. Invest in a bulletproof vest. Oz, Ozzy, kamikaze. Run the track back and attack what we lack. Stand back, I unpack the counter attack. And the comeback, the sad sack. They should've never said that. And faith is bullshit as a matter of fact.
Which faith is bullshit.
Man, we're going down and deep down.
Which faith is bullshit.
Hey, somebody mute Oz.
Which faith is bullshit. Which faith is bullshit.
Faith
Bars,
is
son.
bullshit. Sorry.
Bars, son. Bars for days. You just got to taste. You want that smoke, Ethan?
Yeah, I want that smoke. I'll say this. Maybe you might be able to out battle me. But if we were on stage, I gotta say, pretty untouchable when it comes to the stage.
So
Stage performance, that is.
You just got to hear 3 minutes of smoke. You don't want that smoke.
Oh,
You don't want that smoke.
Let's do
And
it.
then Ethan, we get on stage. It's always the big bald guy with a beard and a bunch of tattoos that wins the battle. All right.
Come on.
So let's get into Q&A here before we wrap up, guys. Thank you so much for your time. I've enjoyed this, and I hope the viewers have enjoyed it. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and we'll get to some questions here. So let me see. I was completely distracted by those miraculous bars that we were dropping on Ethan there, that I got distracted from the questions. But question for Jenna: why is it looked down on commenting on the style of hosts on the show, whereas Pasta trashes on Oz daily?
Oh, he's talking about AXP?
Probably.
Because the hosts of the show that have been on for years have gotten very, very sick of how hot they are, and just it's not America's Next Top Model. You know, they're not on there for how they look. They're on there for our minds, and it just takes up too much of the conversation. And a lot of people just don't want to hear that.
And I agree. But then his follow-up question to that was, then why does Pasta get to trash Oz daily? All right, that's a throwaway question. You don't have to answer that, Jenna. We'll get the next one up there. But while we're waiting, so tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have this one guy named Seth Andrews that's going to hang out with us here at the Atheist Roundtable. So if you're available, come chill with the folks at the Atheist Roundtable and Seth Andrews, and we'll get into it. But he just dropped a new book, and we'll talk about that some more. And then we got another guest that's coming on November, but I'm going to wait until the end to talk about that one. So if we'll throw that question back up there for me, Pasta, I apologize there. Your thoughts on A, is religion and religious religion a form of mental illness, mentally ill as some people think, or B, religious trauma syndrome and how it affects us all? So I have my opinions, but I'll wait. Jenna, if you want to start with that one.
I think that religion is something that we have used over time to get us that gave us answers enough to let us focus on other things. And now that we have learned other things, we don't need those anymore. So I think that it's just habit, if anything. I don't think it's a mental illness. I do think that there is a certain level of brainwashing involved, but I don't think that it's necessarily intentional. Religious trauma syndrome, I do believe that's a thing. It is not in the DSM yet. There is still research being done on it, but I do believe that that is a thing, and it is it exhibits similar symptoms as CPTSD, which is a real thing as well.
Mm-hmm. Right. And what are your thoughts, Jenna? And actually, this isn't. I don't think I've personally. I'm sure you've talked about the past, but I don't know that I've heard it. What are your thoughts on religious drama? Same thing. Trauma, religious trauma, and how it affects those, especially those exiting faith or religion.
Well, if you've left a religion, you can probably testify that the moment that religion or something religious that reminds you of religion comes up, your heart rate will shoot up. And you kind of go on high alert. You're then much more quick to respond emotionally to anything that happens around you. So unless you practice specifically working on that, it's very difficult to overcome that.
Right. Totally agree. Ethan?
I don't have much to add to it, except the fact that I'll never say somebody who's, that religion is mental illness at all.
Agreed. Yeah. And I say that because I think that's a slap in the face to those that actually suffer from true mental health diagnosis.
Yes.
That's a belief, not a diagnosis. Yeah. And as far as the trauma, if you are leaving a religion or recently have, or maybe you did it 10 years ago, that's real. That's real. And once you start to realize the impact of it, you appreciate the want to help other people. I think that's where we have a conundrum. It's like we have to help ourselves, but we want to help those other people because we know what it's like to try to rip away from that. And I think that's where, like I said, that conundrum kind of comes up sometimes. But no, thank you guys for that. And we'll get on to the next question for Oz is hot. Appreciate it. It's guys, all I've seen in the chats is I have a plain sweater on tonight instead of a crazy either a floral pattern or paisley pattern dress shirt on tonight. So Ian dropping super chats. Appreciate it, man.
Ian's awesome. He's they've helped me out or contributed to my channel several times. So thank you, Ian Davenport.
Awesome. Yeah, Ian's everywhere. He's awesome. Big supporter in our community. And then Geo Sam, the man, he's a new YouTube member. Oh, and Atheist Chico that thinks I'm hot is now a YouTube member. So we can thank my good looks for Atheist Chico becoming a member. And Brainbug says, "What a great panel." And Brainbug, if we're talking about Jenna and Ethan, I completely agree with you. It's a great panel.
Thank you.
Bryce, my homie, and he's part of the Empathetic Atheist show. It's also slapped in the face to all of us that are once religious and deconverted. I didn't deconvert myself from a mental illness. That's not a thing. That's good shit. That's fire right there, buddy. That's spitting that fire. All right. Any other questions here? Oh yeah, I had noticed that Oz wasn't dressed like my grandma's couch. Somebody ban him. Ban Sean. He's no longer welcome here. But guys, before we I'm going to ask you guys one or two more questions, but I do want to plug this one more time, and I'll give you guys the information if you want it for your channels and stuff. But if anybody listening tonight or in the future, if you go to TART.live, there's a little chat bubble in the bottom right-hand corner. And if you need to talk to somebody, you want to talk to somebody and just talk shit, you're not going to get a professional there. You're just going to get a human that wants to listen and help you, in regards to listening, you can go there. If you're seeking a secular therapist, and I punctuate secular therapist that will help you. I have built a relationship, established a relationship with one that is willing to help us. When I say us, our community, and all you need to do is email me, austin@tart.live. I will make that connection with or for you, and you can rock and roll. And talk therapy is huge. They already talked about it, so I didn't spend a bunch of time there. But talk therapy is a great asset, a great tool for you. So before we go, guys, to kind of, I guess, switch gears a little bit, lighten it up, get away from the diagnosis of the mental health part of it. I want to make sure that we get to talk about Jenna and Ethan, individually, what you guys are doing, and I know collectively you guys have things going on. Before we sign off, Jenna, tell us about all the ways that we can find Jenna and what you're doing.
I'm actually finally trying to compile all of that into a website at jennabelk.com. And I have a couple friends that are helping me with that. So very, very soon, like within the next week or two, we'll be able to just go there. As of right now, it's youtube.com/Jenna Belk is where my channel is. And that has my shows, with the exception of Carrot Noises, which y'all awesomely had mentioned earlier, which is my live streaming painting. I do that on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Jenna Belk. And that is every Friday at 3:30 for 2 hours. Thank you for doing that. Atheostasis, I am now beginning to live premiere Wednesdays at 4 p.m. I'm going to be posting still 24 hours prior to Patreon for people who have a couple extra bucks to toss this way to help me out. Which, by the way, I did lose my job to COVID, so it really, really helps a little more than it did before. And then that Genesis that you see in the middle is the one that I have in the works. That I'm like getting so OCD about it that I have too many ideas. It's crazy, but I'm very excited about that. And then also Ethan and I have our show every Sunday at 11 Central that we mentioned earlier.
Awesome. And Jenna, I want to say again, thank you. But one thing that I appreciate about you is, regardless of the platform that you're on, is even from the first time that I remember watching and listening to you on the Atheist Experience, and I remember telling somebody this, but I've always seen the transparency, and I've always noticed the transparency and the authenticity that you bring, and even the way you engage the theists, and that even though we don't agree and we don't believe what they believe, and at this point we think it's nonsense, right? That you've always been respectful of the human and the humanity involved, and I appreciate that. And that's something that I know I can speak for not just myself but our team at TART, that we value that, and thank you for what you provide to the community, and you being willing to be this transparent about mental health and the things that we go through all day every day. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks. Rehab has taught me, like you had mentioned, that volunteering makes you feel really good, and so that's why I'm doing everything that I'm doing, is because it makes me feel good to help too. So thank you so much for telling me that. That really, really means a lot to me. Thank you.
No, absolutely. That's from the heart, and we appreciate it as a channel, as a platform. We appreciate what you do. So, Ethan, where, before I absolutely crush you in a battle, where do we find you?
Not happening ever. Well, first off, I would like to echo Oz's sentiments. Jenna, you are friggin' awesome. You were the first atheist YouTuber to take a chance on me, when obviously I couldn't talk to anybody. So thank you for giving me the chance and continuing to work with me and starting a show with me. Like, that's, Jenna, you've helped make like dreams come true in my life very much. And it's crazy that I get to say Jenna Belk's my friend. Like, that's so cool to me. Like, I almost don't believe it at times. So, and also Jenna, thank you for making me feel more at home in the atheist community, because I don't want to, like, I want to be that compassionate ear like you and patient and listening to other people. So thank you for making me feel a bit more normal.
My God, I love the love, man. Oh, and I hope that I love all of y'all. Like, oh my God, I'm so impressed by everybody. That's why I can't get enough of all these shows. Like, oh man, yeah, you want me to be on your show? I'll be there. Oh, I love y'all. Thank you so much.
So thank you. So I have that show every Sunday with Jenna at 11 a.m. Central Daylight Time, where you can call in, and we talk typically about mental health. This Sunday is going to be mental health and politics. No, we will not be doing this will not be a what side are you on. This will be how do you deal with, handle your mental health in politics. I'm totally messing that up. As you can see on the screen, though, this is my channel, youtube.com/YFNAtheist, where you can see, as Puck calls it, rainbow barf atheism. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just throw stuff together and hope it works. And then I also have my secondary channel, youtube.com/YFNA News. That's more socio-political. So every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Daylight Time is a call-in show where you can call and talk to us about the supernatural, aliens, or conspiracy theories. And this Tuesday, I have someone from QAnon calling in. So that'll be interesting. Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central Daylight Time, I have a couple Trump supporters coming on. We do this every week leading into the election while we try and figure out why they still support Donald Trump. And then this Thursday at 7 p.m., I'll be on with the anti-bot.
There's a picture of me looking exactly like that in my high school lyric book. I love it.
Oh shit!
That's awesome.
And then Thursday night at 9 p.m., I'll have a show with Hannah Vaughn. We'll be talking about mental health and intimacy. So,
You'll want to catch that. Hannah's awesome.
Yes.
And if we get that close up again, that's the guy that thinks he's going to beat me in a rap battle. Oh shit!
I may have to dust off a little bit, but this white boy can get back in action. Come out of retirement to take you down.
Retirement? You're not old enough to be retired.
Oh, I've retired from rap battling. I feel too old for that.
Oh,
It's been a while.
you better practice up then, buddy.
I know.
Thank you guys again, and I'll just plug a thing or two here because we didn't do our normal kickoff there in the beginning. But if anything TART that you need, go to tart.live, and I won't go over it all again. But we do have the ways to chat if you need to talk to somebody on there. But our merch store is on there. We have our new winter wardrobe coming. But we have some hoodies and beanies and things like that I'm working on. We'll get those on there and ready for you guys. Our link trees on there, our Discord links on there. If you want to be a part of that, all that's there. And then last but not least, we earlier we shared it, but Seth Andrews will be with us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Very excited about that. And I believe it's on the 2nd of October. Yeah, we're October. So 2nd of November, we're going to have Talk Heathen, both Eric and V with us on the 2nd. So I'm super pumped. We had quite the we had quite the circus trying to get all of our schedules together with all the people in TART, and but we finally made it happen. We're gonna have them on. We're gonna hang out. Super pumped to have them. And then on there's Jesus Mike. Then on the 15th, the Lord of SE, Lord Anthony Magnabosco, will be with us at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're very, very excited. SE and street epistemology, for those who don't know what SE is, that's something that we study. We research a lot about and watch a lot of his videos, and super pumped to have Anthony on. It's to be exciting. So that's all we got, guys. Before we go, anything that you guys would like to say in closing?
No,
Thank you
thanks for having me. And also, I am looking forward for those watching. Hopefully, we're going to put together an Inception episode and have the Atheist Roundtable on your friendly neighborhood Atheist Roundtable.
Ooh.
Yep. So I'm going to connect with, because we have 5 guys we got to get together all at once. So I told Ethan I need to talk to all the guys, and he wants to talk about Inception, how it all came together, how we got to where we're at. So I'll put that in front of the guys, and as soon as we can make that happen, we'll try to make that happen. I think it'll be fun for everybody. But but thank you guys.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Inception, the movie reference. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Inside the dreams, so the round table inside the round table.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. See, you and Pasta can connect on that. That's he's the one. I'm not smart enough to think that way. That's for you smart people. But again, Jenna, Ethan, thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to hang out with myself and our listeners tonight. For everybody that tuned in tonight, we appreciate you. And if you need anything, let us know. But that's it. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Thanks for watching the Atheist Roundtable.